This may be one of the worst looking bats we've had in the shop. This is a Lindsay Hassett croquet bat from around the 1950s. It's got a lot of damage. Anything you can think of, we probably need to do to it. So come along and see how it's done, and we'll see how new we can get it to look. So at the moment, I'm just taking this binding off. It's actually lasted a very long time. It's quite crusty, but we're gonna see what it's kind of holding together. But as you can see, with this binding lasting this long, binding can be a very useful thing to use in the bat repairing world. It definitely holds bats together like this very well. And as you can see, it lasts a long time. So obviously it's a little bit loose now, but it's probably been on here for 60 years, if not more. So it was definitely used then to hold things together. Just like pigskin was used around this time as well. But that's another whole thing to take care of when we find that on bats. By the looks of it, guys, it's not actually holding much together. It looks like just some surface cracks. Maybe the owner was kind of a bit worried about, but it doesn't look to be too much major damage. The major damage seems to be more around the toe where there wasn't actually any binding, but it seems to be hiding some very nice looking grains though, so I'm very interested to see how they sand up. So looking at it after the first sort of 80 stage that we've done, the grains on it look great, and I'm keen to see how it will look after it's completely finished. So we've just cleaned up the handle area now, so all the binding and melted grip's gone. We've just got to go through and then sand this flat to give it a nice surface area, because we're going to graft a little bit of handle there and kind of sand it / shape it kind of to match this mold. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and graft another old bit of timber into this one as well. So we'll go do that now. So we've grafted that little bit of handle in. So while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and cut this damaged bit out. We've got our jig here to do that on the bandsaw. We're going to actually use another old cricket bat to kind of match the color, so it's not too dissimilar and doesn't look too mismatched in a way. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're just going to get some straight lines in here and match that up as best we can. Alright guys, we've left that overnight. The glue's dried, it looks pretty good. We've now just got to shape both of the grafts, chuck some glue into the surface cracks, and then get back to sanding. All right, so that's all kind of matched up and blended in. Unfortunately, that's kind of the best color we could have gotten. We used another old bit of wood that was similar color to this originally. Unfortunately, it doesn't match quite perfectly, but again, that's probably the best we're gonna get out of that result. That was probably one of the most delicate things I've had to do, especially using a big drum sander on such a small piece. It was just very delicate to try and match that up and blend it in. I think we've done a pretty good job, and it looks quite good, and definitely one of the harder things I've had to do. All right, so I'm just going through and soaking this handle in a bit of CA glue. There's plenty of splits down the handle, just in the more surface splits, but we're just gonna go ahead and glue them up just to avoid any further damage. I don't think the owner's going to be using this, but it's just peace of mind and just doing the repair properly. So CA glue is pretty much just a super glue. It just allows us to get into cracks quite deeply without opening them up and damaging the area even more. Works great for surface cracks like this and even on newer bats as well, but it's just a great way to get into cracks that we wouldn't usually be able to get to. So we're just going to go through and oil it now. This is just to get some moisture back in it. It wouldn't have been oiled for a very long time, but yeah, so we're just going to get some moisture back in it, and then after that's dried, we're going to get back and finish sanding it.
So the interesting part about doing vintage recreations of artwork is that it was never perfect. It was all done by hand by artisans who were doing this design all by hand, probably by pen, and then they were making, actually I don't know how, they made these stamps and they printed on the bat, and it was amazing. And so when we're redoing it with computer aided programs, we don't want it to be perfect, but we have the ability to make it perfect. But I think when you're doing these kinds of things, it needs to be imperfect to look real. And whilst it looks great when it's laser engraved and we can make it look exactly how it was and make it perfect, we don't want it too perfect. So with a lot of these things, I try and make them imperfect to match the style of the bat.
All right guys, the oil's finished drying. So now we've got to get into finish sanding and polishing, and then we're going to chuck the sticker on and finish the laser engraving. Alright guys, so now it's all finished up, binding on, polished, everything. We've just now got to go through and laser engrave it and put the back sticker on, and then it'll be a finished product. Alright guys, so we're going to get into laser engraving, but what's very important when we're doing a laser engraving job like this is that we do a test run beforehand. So I've just got an old bat that isn't being used in the workshop. We're going to test it on this, see how it looks, make sure the measurements are all good, and then we're going to go through and laser engrave it on the real bat. Alright guys, so we've done that test. It's come out good, I'm pretty happy with it. It's important to do tests like this to make sure you've got the sizes right, how they look is right, what sort of heat you want the laser to be doing, to figure out how deep you want the laser engraving to go. Alright guys, this one's all finished off, ready to go back to the customer. It's come up looking mint. Definitely the hardest refurb I've had to do. Just all the little intricate things that we needed to do on this one, to the graft, to the handle graft, to fixing all the surface cracks. It was just It was just a very hard repair, but it's come up looking great, and I'm very happy with the end result, and I'm sure the customer will be as well.